Good afternoon, ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for clicking that button and joining me for today's video. I hope you're all well. So as you can see with your eyes, you're joining me out in the woods today, and it is a very bleak and wintry day. We do have a bit of sun coming through the trees, but it's very windy and very chilly today, so I'm going to make this as quick as I can. So today's video is a continuation of the last video on the channel, and that's where we looked at and discussed different knife steels, how useful they actually are out in the woods for the duration and the use that we use them for. So today I think I brought around 5 different knife steels. We're going to put them through the rigors today. We're going to do the basic, outdoor stuff, chopping, slicing, feathering, and then we're going to go and compare the edges on them steels to see how well they retain that edge after use. So the first knife we're looking at is a perfect example of what a survival knife would have looked like back in the 70s or 80s. Check this out. Now this is a Fury 11829 model, made around the 70s or 80s again. It's made in 440 stainless in Japan, and these were very, very popular back in that era again. And this has been finally stropped. It's quite sharp at the minute. How long it will hold that edge we do not know. But this is the first knife we're going to test, so join me over on the chopping log and we'll do that now. Now, funny story, as with any knife test you'd expect a paper slicing test. I did forget paper, but I've just stopped off at the shop. Just picked up some lottery tickets and also a magazine of finer quality paper, so we'll do that. But we'll do a quick slicey test first, just to show. Oh, not a good start. So there we go. So very slicey. And this again is constructed from 440. This is the lowest grade steel in the selection of knives. And we have a hollow grind and a secondary bevel there. Just give you a quick look. Nice hard wood, so this should be a good test for the edge retention. We're going to do 20 chops with each knife, starting with this one. Right guys, on to batoning. Will a £20 eBay knife fulfill your batoning needs out in the woods for an afternoon? Let's just find out. Straight through a nasty knot there. So quite a batoning beast, to be honest. A bit of cross batoning.
Feathering. Not the best wood for feathering, but...
Right ladies and gents, just a quick disclaimer before we carry on. The short test you see with the knives in front of the camera, just to keep the video short. I will continue with the chopping tests. I've just done an extra 50 chops with the knife on another seasoned piece of ash over here, and I will continue that through each knife. I've also just finished batoning down the one stick fire there, and we'll make sure each knife gets equal use. So on to the next knife. Next knife is my trusty Mora Bushcraft Black. This is a variant of high carbon steel. I'm not sure which one it is. Could be 1095, 28, 1065, 1070, whatever. And they don't really disclose it, but this is one of my favourite steels. Very easy to sharpen in the field. Relatively cheap. This one retails for around £30. And there's not much that can go wrong with this. An extremely sturdy knife, sturdy sheath, and it's a pleasure to use. So let's crack on. Right, so we'll go straight onto the thin paper test, because why not? We've got it here. So all very, very nicely sharp, as you can see there. Carbon steel does hold a fantastic edge. You can get the bleeding paper right. It's very windy. Just to give you a good example there. Nice sharp edge. Again, although this is only a quarter tang into the handle, it's still very, very robust. And I have no issues or worries batoning with this knife. May require a little bit more maintenance, keeping that blade oiled, but fantastic steel again. Bit of cross batoning. For a day in the woods, I'd say that would be absolutely fine. Right, ladies and gents, the next knife up for test is a new acquisition to me. This is a knife from a local knife maker to me called Graham. He owns GT Knives, makes some exceptional knives. Unfortunately, he's just given me the news recently that he's not making knives anymore. This is the very last knife to leave his workshop, and he bestowed it onto me. And I accept it very graciously as prosperity, so he says. Now Graham only makes his knives in 01 tool steel, so this is a high carbon 01 tool steel. 4mm stock. We have orange F1 micarta scales on the handle here, very nice to hold, very ergonomic, and we have some mosaic pins there as well. Very nice grind on that. I know the heat treats from Graham's knives are exceptional. Absolutely exceptional, probably as good as you can get for an 01 tool steel, so this should perform well today, and I'm looking forward to using it, so let's crack on. So first of all, the slicey paper test. If the bloody magazine will stay still. This is such a bad example. Go. Where's the sharp? Excellent edge. Really should have chose a better wood for feathering, but you know, curls, they don't all have to stay on the wood anyway. As long as they're fine enough to catch a spark on a dry mat, you know, these low burns. So again, I'll continue to that's nice, and for a Scandi, that's nice and slicey, that. Bloody hell. I was almost through that. So, moving on to the next knife. Pardon me, guys. Again, apologies, I do hope you can hear what I'm saying. And if not, I'll have to scrub the whole video and do it again. So, we've moved on from carbon steel knives now, and we are on to an ABL, which is a stainless. Now, this is the most expensive knife in the group. This cost me £420. You've got to ask yourself, So what we've done in the woods here today, we've made a one stick fire. You know, we're going to use the knives as well to get that fire going. Afterwards, when we've got an established fire, you're going to use your saw for bigger wood, snap it with your feet, with your hands, whatever. So every steel we've used today has been absolutely adequate for that need. Do we need a £420 knife to do that? I mean, you know, I bought this from Josh, Field Woodland Blades, because I wanted to support him. He makes fantastic, beautiful knives, and again, you're going to pay that price because this is a custom blade. Very, very nicely finished. If you want to see a close-up of this, you can have a look at the last video. We did close-ups of all the knives we're testing today, but there we go. This is his new design. This is the Evil Pro Gen 2. Again, stainless, 4mm stock, and I'm expecting this to perform exceptionally well. We do have a high Scandivex grind on there. We have cotton and canvas micarta. Again, £420. Just ask yourself that next time you come to buy your knives. But yeah, beautiful knife. Let's do the slicey test. That wind bubs off. There you go, some nice slicey performance from the AEBL. Never get it any direction down across the top. Hold me, guys. Technical difficulties. Oh, there you go. Extremely slicey. Very nice razor edge. 20. Very nice splitting action. This is all the majority of us are doing in the woods. And all steels, regardless, will cut. I'd say it again. The most important aspects of any knife is the geometry and heat treat of the steel. And I'm expecting that this knife should make some nice curls even with this ash. Yeah, I do like that Scandivex grind. And Josh's knives are extremely slicey, given the geometry of his bevel, which again is an important aspect. As I expected with this knife, to be fair. Now the GT knives, Bushcraft, they nearly made it all the way through. I'm losing the grip, guys. Does cut deep. Right, ladies and gents, we have two knives left. If you have stuck with the video up until now, thank you very much for your patience. I do appreciate it. This one is the Fallkniven S1XB. This is another stainless knife made in laminated cot steel, or lamb cobalt steel, meaning that this is a sandwich steel. So on the outside of the bevels it is, I think, a 440J steel, and the steel in the middle is much harder than a cobalt steel. Again, I've used this knife for a very, very long time, and anything I wanted to achieve in the woodlands I did with this knife, whether that was tent pegs, roughing out, carving out rough spoons, cutting food, fire prep, anything like that was achievable with this knife. Now this knife is an absolute tank. The stock on this comes in at 6mm, and this is a full convex grind, one of my favourite grinds again. On the front we do have a couple of stones there to help me maintain that edge, although again the edge on this blade does last a very long time. And I am a advocate of the sharpen once and strop for life, so you know, strop's all you need after you've used the knife in the field. So let's Get a fresh page. My dad ran away with a dog, now they're to wed. Crazy days, crazy days. So we've got one piece there. One piece does plenty. Zytel sheath and Thermaron grips on this. Some people do comment on how thin the grips are on this knife. I'm absolutely fine with that. I've only got small diddy hands and that suits me just fine. It's not true what they say though, small hands, you know, small hand. Right, behave yourself. There you go. So, even though this is a massively chunky piece of steel, as you can see there's still extremely fine edge on that. This knife is a batoning beast. I know a lot of you guys out there don't agree with batoning with a knife through wood, but I'd say that would have been true, you know, with a Mora, maybe the old Moras, but with these sort of knives, that's ridiculous. These were built for that sort of abuse. This knife is just made to be wailed on. And it still cuts quite deep. Right, ladies and gents, so we made it with the final knife. Now, I wouldn't class this as a belt knife, although, you know, if it's the only knife I had in the woods, I'd made do with it and it'd do exactly what I needed it to do. But this isn't even the most expensive knife, but it is the most expensive steel in the lineup. This being Elmax. This is a powder metallurgy steel. But for a tiny chunk like that, £170, a very basic knife. You have a sabre grind on there, and this is a Fallkniven R2 Scout. So we're probably not going to get the same results with this, with the chopping test. But again, you know, out in the woods, you're not doing a lot of chopping with a knife. Little Robin, hello little Robin. But for, you know, carving tasks, feathers, batoning, it's going to work. So, slicey test. It is very, very thin. Probably not as thin as telephone directory paper, but still, it's that magazine paper. So, but yeah, we've got a sharp edge on there, as you can see. Well, that's just proving me wrong, isn't it? There's robins dancing around behind me. you know, for fire prep. That would create digging in there. That will create kills. Right, ladies and gents, so that concludes the test using all 6 knives, performing various woodcraft duties in the woods. And as you can see behind me here, we've got a fallen ash, and on there you'll see 6 notches. This is where we've continued to punish the blades on the knives, and I think if anything is going to deteriorate the edge on any blade, it's going to be chopping. So we've done 50 in each slot there using each knife. We're going to do the paper test again. We're going to do paper test on the thicker paper first to see how much of an edge the knives have retained, and then we'll do the thin paper test, and then we're going to strop them all and see if we bring them all back up to razor sharp. Now, before anyone starts in the comments, I am not advocating this as a bushcraft knife. Yes, it will do a day in the woods, achieving all the tasks you require of it, but this is the only 440 stainless I've got, so we're only testing the steel. So let's test the edge. Let's test the edge. Still slicey. 448, it's not even a good stainless steel. It's not even a good 440. But we're still slicing there. Let's try the magazine. Bloody wind. No. That's just ripping thin paper. Definitely not cutting that. Hog it off. Oh, it is cutting that, enough to say. It's slicey ripping, so there is still an edge there, enough to cut the thicker paper. So here we have the Mora, still slices through that beautifully. Still got a fantastic edge on that. So the fine working edge, again, is it's kind of there, but not, if you know what I mean. It's snagging now. It's still sharp enough to cut the lotto ticket paper. It will slice, but then does rip. So, it has lost its fine edge. Onto the 01 tool steel from GT Knives. I knew this would still be slicey, very slicey. Go into the magazine. Again, looks like the lost its fine working edge, but still has a good working edge. Yep. So good working edge, lost its fine working edge. So here we have Josh's knife. This is 8 EBL, and this is renowned for retaining its edge in the field. So let's see if still very slicey there, zero resistance, very nice. Let's try the magazine. Still got a bit of its slicey performance left there. Bloody wind. Yeah, it's still slicing, which is one of the attributes of 8 EBL. Like I say, I wouldn't say ABL's much more expensive than any of the other low-end good budget steels, but proof's in the pudding there. That pissing winded out. Still slicing. So far that has got the best edge retention. And we have the Fallkniven S1XB in laminated cobalt steel. I will pick all this up, guys, it's all in front of me, I can see it. Still very slicey, zero resistance. Very nice. Trying to get a good piece. Slicing. So that's still retained a very, very nice fine edge. But again, fine edge, you know, they don't last long on any blade. The hair popping sharp edge, as long as you've got a good working edge, you're not working with a totally blunt knife, you're good to go. Still slicing. Cool. Last one, guys, and then we are going to strap them all up and just try the fine magazine paper again. It's not the most entertaining of videos, I know, but you know, these are real world tests for people that you know they can only afford maybe the cheaper 01 carbon steel knives or high carbon steels, and this proves they're just as good out in the woods for the short duration. You'd have to be banging on these steels for hours and hours and hours to actually, you know, dull them down to a point where you need to get them back on the stone. You just don't do that in the woods. Very slicey. Still slicing. Very nice. Magazine. It's not even trying to grab that. Slicing. Not consecutively though, we'll probably do have a few fibres stuck along the edge. Tearing, slicing. Again, even the Elmax. The powder metallurgy super steel has lost its very fine hair popping sharp edge during that challenge. Not cleanly slicing, but after a strop it is still. Still got a fair edge after a quick strop on green compound. Right, ladies and gents, some very interesting results coming from the knives after a quick strop on some green compound. The best two results are the Evo Pro Gen 2 from Joshua Westbrook at Fieldwood Blades. That regained its scalpel-like qualities and easily sliced that paper. Then going to the GT Knives Bushcraft at number 1, Mark 2 from Graham. Again, that regained its scalpel-like qualities, easily slicing through that paper. And the rest of them regained a good working edge, which will last you for days in the woods, if all you've got to do is touch up, you know, on a bit of compound. The surprising result came from the 440A stainless steel, the Rambo knife, that was still slicing after a quick strop, which goes to show 440, the standard 440 steel is still, you know, absolutely adequate in the woodland environment, and it's stainless, so you don't have to worry about it rusting. Well, going back to what we're saying about all these new super metallurgy knife steels that have flooded the market, they're just not necessary for what we do in the woods. My £30 Mora is more than adequate for what I need it for out in the woods for a couple of hours, even a couple of days. After a strop, you're still good to go. You've got these £1,000 knives now that are using Magna Cut, crew wear, all these steels, and the performance gains are minimal, but the price hike is massive. Just ask yourself that next time you come to buy your next knife. I'd say the only benefits you're looking for are your environment, really. Look at the environment you're working in. If you're in the UK, we're very wet, damp most of the time. So a high carbon steel or O1 or D2 is going to require a little bit of maintenance when you finish with it in the woods. Just slap a bit of Vaseline on there, good to go. Qualities are stainless, obviously, you know, you're not going to have to worry about rust as much, but you know, if you leave it wet long enough, it will pit, because it does still contain carbides. Sorry, I'm trying to huff out my voice here. But yeah, they're the only two steels you need to consider, really. AEBL, fantastic edge retention. O1 tool steel, again, fantastic edge retention for what you need it for, especially with that heat treat, and you just need to maintain it a little bit more in the woods. Simple. Right, ladies and gents, so that concludes today's video. Now, I know it wasn't the most entertaining video today, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. What I'm going to do now is make a lovely hot cup of coffee and enjoy my last half an hour in the woods before the sun goes down. So again, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one. So until then, you stay safe, and as always, stay crafty, guys. See you later. Bye-bye. Ooh, crossword.